A hacker has reportedly stolen the newest season of the award-winning Netflix series Orange is the New Black. The hacker says he's already released several episodes to a file-sharing service. The show wasn't set to air until June. Netflix says they are aware of the situation.
For years, millions of viewers fell in love with the inmates of Litchfield Penitentiary, the orange jumpsuits, the prison politics, and one of the most emotionally layered ensembles in modern television. Orange is the New Black built one of the most internationally varied casts ever assembled for a single show. But what if I told you some of these stars look so different in real life that fans walk right past them without realizing who they are? A death metal singer hiding inside a quiet prison drama. A beauty pageant semifinalist playing a bank robber. These are the real people behind Orange is the New Black, and the transformation is honestly shocking. 1. Taylor Schilling. At the center of Orange is the New Black is Piper Chapman, the privileged outsider whose entire understanding of herself collapses across 7 seasons inside Litchfield. Piper enters the show naive and self-assured and leaves it permanently changed by everything prison strips away. Piper is played by American actor Taylor Schilling, who kept the character visually simple throughout the entire run, with straight blonde hair and minimal makeup, a deliberate contrast to the more dramatic looks worn elsewhere in the prison. That simplicity made every emotional shift in the performance land harder, since nothing visual was competing for attention. In March 2019, Schilling told reporters she fell in love with the person rather than the gender, a piece of honesty that reshaped how audiences understood the actor behind one of streaming television's most closely watched protagonists. 2. Laura Prepon. Alex Vowsey is the sharp-witted, dangerously magnetic woman whose complicated relationship with Piper defines the emotional spine of the entire series. The character moves between vulnerability and manipulation in ways that keep audiences permanently uncertain about her real intentions. Alex is played by Laura Prepon, an actor known for years as a redhead on the 70s show before stepping into Litchfield with jet black hair, thin arched eyebrows, and a perfect cat eye that somehow survived prison conditions in nearly every single episode. The transformation was complete enough that casual viewers genuinely struggled to connect the two roles. She co-wrote a New York Times best-selling book called The Stash Plan with a nutritionist, detailing her own approach to organic eating, and later launched a cookware line called Prepon Kitchen. Prepon welcomed 2 children with husband Ben Foster before he filed for divorce in 2024. She also returned to her original red-haired look, reprising the role of Donna Pinciotti in the spin-off series The 90s Show, proving the character that built her career decades ago never really left. 3. Danielle Brooks. Tasha Jefferson, known to fans simply as Tasty, begins the series as a relentlessly positive presence determined to build a better life on the other side of her sentence. The character grows into one of the show's central emotional anchors, eventually carrying some of its most devastating storylines. Tasty is played by Danielle Brooks, who started as a supporting player and grew steadily into one of the most essential performers in the entire ensemble. Brooks brought a combination of humor and gravity to the role that made every later season twist feel completely earned rather than manufactured for drama. She earned an Academy Award nomination for her role in The Color Purple in 2023, appeared in the Marvel-adjacent series Peacemaker, voiced characters in Karma's World, and returned triumphantly to Broadway, starring in The Piano Lesson in 2022. 4. Uzo Aduba. Suzanne Warren, known throughout Litchfield as Crazy Eyes, demands an emotional range that very few television characters ever attempt, somehow holding comedy, heartbreak, and genuine unpredictability inside the same person without ever feeling inconsistent. Suzanne is played by Uzo Aduba, who earned 2 Emmy Awards and 2 Golden Globe nominations for the role, numbers that place her among the most decorated performers to ever come out of the entire series. Aduba refused to let the character become a punchline, insisting on genuine psychological depth in every single scene. She led the 4th season of HBO's In Treatment, played the title role in Miss Virginia, and appeared in the Pixar film Lightyear. By 2024, Aduba was appearing in The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat and Greedy People, with a role in the upcoming series The Resident already secured. 5. Kate Mulgrew. Galina Reznikov, known throughout the show simply as Red, runs Litchfield's kitchen with an authority that shapes the entire prison hierarchy in the early seasons. The character demands both menace and quiet vulnerability, often within the same scene. Red is played by veteran actress Kate Mulgrew, who adopted fiery ginger locks specifically for the role, a stark visual departure from her own natural appearance. Mulgrew brought decades of established screen presence into a part that required commanding an entire ensemble through presence alone. She had already built a major career across television and stage, including originating Captain Janeway on Star Trek Voyager, long before Orange ever cast her. Since the show ended, Mulgrew has appeared in The First Lady, Infinity Train, and The Man Who Fell to Earth, while also returning to voice work inside the Star Trek franchise that first made her a household name decades earlier. 6. Taryn Manning. Tiffany Doggett, known as Pennsatucky, evolves more dramatically than almost any other character across the show's run, moving from a scraggly-haired, missing-toothed extremist into someone audiences genuinely came to root for by the final seasons. Pennsatucky is played by Taryn Manning, who carried every layer of that transformation with a rawness that made the eventual character growth feel completely earned rather than convenient. The physical transformation, new teeth, and a softened presence mirrored an internal change that took years to develop on screen. Before Orange, Manning had already built major film credits, appearing in Crossroads, White Oleander, 8 Mile, and Crazy Beautiful. 7. Lea Delaria. Big Boo delivers more pure sarcasm per scene than almost anyone else inside Litchfield, using dry wit as both armor and entertainment for everyone around her. The character became one of the most quotable presences across the entire run of the show. Big Boo is played by Lea Delaria, whose real-life style closely matches the character, short dark hair, and an unmistakable confidence that translates directly off-screen. Delaria has spent decades as an outspoken figure within LGBTQ entertainment circles, bringing genuine lived experience directly into one of the show's most beloved characters. What most fans do not know is that Delaria has built an entire parallel career as a jazz vocalist and stand-up comedian, completely separate from her acting work. 8. Dasha Polanco. Dayanara Diaz, known simply as Daya, survives one of the most harrowing arcs in the entire series, beginning the show pregnant with a corrections officer's baby and ending it as a substance operation leader battling her own addiction. Daya is played by Dasha Polanco, who carried that descent with a level of nuance that made every twist feel devastating rather than soap opera convenient. Polanco built Daya as someone whose choices always felt understandable, even when they were clearly destructive. Polanco initially pursued a career in healthcare after graduating from Hunter College, only shifting toward acting before eventually landing a series regular role on Orange starting in Season 3. The healthcare path that almost happened instead of acting makes Polanco's eventual screen career feel like something the industry was fortunate to receive. 9. Elizabeth Rodriguez. Aleida Diaz, Daya's hard-headed and abrasive mother, spends the series working hard to maintain appearances inside Litchfield, while her real parenting failures play out in painful detail. The character could have easily become one note in less capable hands. Aleida is played by Elizabeth Rodriguez, who brought a layered intensity that made the character's toughness feel like a defense mechanism rather than simple cruelty. Rodriguez never let audiences fully dismiss Aleida, even during her worst decisions on screen. What most fans do not know is how completely Rodriguez transforms once the cameras stop rolling, appearing in projects well outside the seasoned criminal persona that defined Aleida for 7 seasons. 10. Selenis Leiva. Gloria Mendoza rises to lead Litchfield's kitchen while navigating her own complicated family life on the outside, carrying one of the show's most emotionally demanding arcs with remarkable consistency across every single season. Gloria is played by Selenis Leiva, who handled the full emotional range the role required without ever letting the character feel repetitive, even across 7 seasons of essentially the same setting and circumstances. Leiva brought maternal warmth and genuine steel in equal measure. She had already built a substantial career before Orange, and the momentum has only continued since, with appearances in Veep, Girls, Saved by the Bell, Spider-Man: Homecoming, and Creed 3, while also taking a main role in Diary of a Future President and Lopez vs. Lopez. That breadth, spanning comedy, superhero franchises, and prestige drama, shows exactly why Leiva became one of the most reliable presences across the entire ensemble. 11. Natasha Lyonne. Nikki Nichols lets her thick hair run wild and leans heavily into smudged eyeliner, becoming what many fans consider the comedic heartbeat of the entire series through rapid-fire delivery and a lived-in authenticity that made her impossible to look away from. Nikki is played by Natasha Lyonne, whose performance turned a supporting character into one of the most quoted presences across the whole show. Lyonne brought genuine vulnerability underneath the comedy, particularly during storylines involving addiction recovery. Lyonne went on to lead Russian Doll, earned an Emmy nomination for Poker Face, and appeared in His Three Daughters. She also co-founded the production company Animal Pictures alongside Maya Rudolph, and co-founded an AI-driven film studio called Asteria alongside her partner. Lyonne is set to appear in the upcoming Marvel film The Fantastic Four: First Steps, a genuinely stunning leap from a Litchfield jumpsuit to one of the biggest franchises in modern entertainment. 12. Samira Wiley. Pussy Washington brings warmth and humor to Litchfield through her closest friendships with Tasty and Black Cindy, and her devastating death in Season 4 became one of the most discussed moments in the show's entire run. Pussy is played by Samira Wiley, who delivered a performance that turned the character into someone audiences genuinely grieved once the storyline ended. Wiley built Pussy as someone whose decency never felt naive, which made the loss land even harder. Pussy's death inspired a criminal justice reform fund that has gone on to support 8 different nonprofit organizations, turning a scripted tragedy into an ongoing, genuine impact. Wiley's career exploded immediately after Orange as well, landing a role in The Handmaid's Tale that earned her an Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actress, and continuing through Blade Runner: Black Lotus and the dark comedy Breaking News in Yuba County. Wiley married Orange writer Lauren Morelli in 2017. 13. Laverne Cox. Sophia Bursay runs the Litchfield salon with genuine skill, bringing both warmth and quiet dignity to a character whose storyline became one of the most groundbreaking in American television history. Sophia is played by Laverne Cox, who used the role to become a defining figure in transgender representation, eventually becoming the first trans person nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award in an acting category. Cox brought lived experience into every layer of the performance that no other actor could have replicated. Since Orange ended, Cox has appeared in Inventing Anna, Promising Young Woman, and Charlie's Angels, while continuing tireless advocacy work. She produced a documentary on trans representation in Hollywood called Disclosure, hosted Live from the red carpet, and became the first transgender person to appear on the cover of Time magazine back in 2014. 14. Yal Stone. Lorna Morello dreams of a fairy tale marriage outside Litchfield's walls, styled with bold red lipstick and soft dark waves that give her the appearance of an old movie star trapped behind prison fences for the entirety of the series. Lorna is played by Yael Stone, who was originally cast for what was supposed to be a single-episode appearance and ended up appearing in 88 of the show's 91 total episodes. Stone built Lorna's romantic delusions with enough sincerity that audiences stayed emotionally invested even as the character repeatedly made the same mistakes. Since the show ended, Stone has appeared in Firebite, Blaze, and Bay of Fires. Off-screen, Stone has 2 children and runs an environmental nonprofit organization called High Neighbor, focused on bringing Australians into low-carbon employment, a project entirely separate from the entertainment industry that made her recognizable. 15. Adrienne Moore. Cindy Hayes, known throughout the show as Black Cindy, brings sharp comic timing to nearly every scene she appears in, balancing humor with one of the more spiritually significant storylines in the entire series, as her character explores converting to Judaism. Black Cindy is played by Adrienne Moore, who delivered both the comedy and the depth with equal confidence, never letting the humor overshadow the genuine emotional stakes underneath it. Moore made the conversion storyline feel sincere rather than a gimmick. Moore has continued building a steady career since Orange concluded, taking on roles that showcase a range beyond the comedic foundation Black Cindy established. 16. Jackie Cruz. Marisol Gonzalez, known as Flaca, brings a distinct attitude and style to Litchfield through thick cat-eye makeup and an unmistakable signature teardrop tattoo beneath one eye, making the character impossible to ignore in nearly every scene. Flaca is played by Jackie Cruz, who balanced toughness with genuine warmth as the series progressed, never letting the visual style overshadow the character's real emotional growth across multiple seasons. Cruz appeared on Courtney and Khloe Take Miami before joining Orange, where a moment with Kourtney Kardashian became a piece of reality television trivia that long predated her scripted acting career. 17. Jessica Pimentel. Maria Ruiz carries one of the toughest exteriors in the entire cast, a Dominican inmate who survives more drama and tragedy than almost anyone else inside Litchfield across the show's full run. Maria is played by Jessica Pimentel, who brought a controlled intensity to the role that made the character's eventual unraveling across later seasons genuinely unsettling to watch rather than melodramatic. Pimentel moonlights as a death metal singer, performing in leather, and with a full stage presence completely removed from anything Litchfield ever allowed her character to express. That contrast between buttoned-down prison toughness and unrestrained metal performance makes Pimentel one of the most genuinely surprising transformations across the entire ensemble, and she has continued pursuing both acting and music since the show concluded. 18. Vicky Judy. Janae Watson enters Litchfield as a former track star who made one terrible decision that derailed her entire life, robbing a bank alongside an old boyfriend and paying for that choice across the full run of the series. Janae is played by Vicky Judy, who brought a hardened exterior to the role that masked real vulnerability underneath, never allowing the character to feel like a simple cautionary tale. Judy is almost nothing like her troubled character. She has been involved in competitive beauty pageants, reaching semifinalist status in the Miss New York USA pageant, a detail that places Judy among the more surprising real-life contrasts in the entire cast. The gap between competitive pageant culture and Litchfield's bank robbery backstory is about as wide as any transformation this show ever produced. 19. Diane Guerrero. Maritza Ramos brings feisty energy and perfectly maintained eyeliner to every single scene despite her circumstances, and the character's confidence never wavers even behind bars, making her one of the show's most visually memorable supporting players. Maritza is played by Diane Guerrero, who carried that same attention to personal style directly into her real life, with a level of consistency that made the character feel completely authentic, rather than costumed. Guerrero had already established her signature eyeliner look long before Orange ever cast her, a detail that shows just how closely her authentic personal style matched what the character needed from the very beginning. She also held a recurring role on Jane the Virgin during much of her time on Orange, balancing two major television commitments simultaneously while building a reputation as one of the most reliably stylish presences to come out of the entire ensemble. 20. The cast members whose real lives took the biggest turns. Matt McGorry, who played Corrections Officer John Bennett, left the show before its full run concluded due to his commitment to How to Get Away with Murder, a role he held until that series ended in 2020. McGorry has since become a vocal activist, co-founding a social impact firm called We Inspire Justice. During the 2023 WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes, McGorry publicly criticized Netflix for what he described as unfair compensation toward the Orange cast, a piece of advocacy that connects directly back to the show that first made him famous. Ruby Rose, the Australian model and actress who played gender-fluid inmate Stella Carlin during a brief but memorable Season 3 arc, went on to lead the first season of Batwoman as the title character. Rose received Gilead's Stephen F. Kolzak Award in 2016 for significant contributions to LGBTQ acceptance in media, turning a relatively short Orange appearance into a launching pad for one of television's most prominent superhero roles. Nick Sando, who played stressed and conflicted Warden Joe Caputo throughout the series, sporting a tattered suit and signature handlebar mustache on screen, looks completely different off-camera, favoring well-trimmed facial hair and sharp tailoring. Sandow has continued acting in projects like American Rust, but has also developed a genuine second creative life as a painter, sharing original artwork that reveals an entirely different artistic outlet from the acting career that made him recognizable. Litchfield Penitentiary turned some of the most talented performers in modern television into characters defined by missing teeth, harsh lighting, and identical orange jumpsuits. Step outside those prison walls, and the transformation becomes genuinely staggering. With Oscar nominations, Emmy wins, Broadway runs, and entire advocacy movements built from roles that started behind bars. If this changed how the cast looks in your mind, hit the like button and subscribe for more.